Tim Eichholz first, who is a gentleman from Kingston who has actually been through what we've just been talking about and has had surgery. And Tim, maybe you can tell your story better than I can.
You can read it in your book. Because everything I was going to say, Michelle has written so beautifully in the book. It's funny that you coined the phrase Mr. Epilepsy, and then I read it, and I see that I coined that phrase, Mr. Epilepsy. I had my first seizure in 1985, and I didn't know what it was. I was driving to prenatal classes before my first daughter was born. And I was driving down Union Street in Kingston, and I was supposed to turn right, and I just stopped in the middle of the street. I had no idea what was going on. And I snapped out of it when my wife asked me what was going on, and I said, I don't know. And the next 3.5 years, I was having anxiety attacks, which actually turned out to be complex partial seizures. So once I was finally diagnosed, and I don't know if any of you ever went through that questioning period, like, what's happening to me? You know, it's easy if you have a tonic-clonic seizure, because everybody goes, he is epilepsy, or she is epilepsy. You know, the grand mal, right? Tonic-clonic. That was easy. But it was that finding out that I had epilepsy. Once I had it, then the road to recovery happened. I went through all the nonsense with epilepsy, and I call it nonsense because I was discriminated against in the workplace. I was treated differently. I lost friends. I did the whole, you know, trying every medication known to medical science, you know, even including the one, I don't know if any of you know Dr. Don Weaver, who used to be in Kingston, and now he's down in Halifax. Don and I went to Queens together many, many years ago. He ended up being my neurologist. But before I found him, there was another neurologist who had given me Dilantin the first time I went to Emerge and said, here, take this, you'll be fine. It didn't stop my seizures. I kept having these little anxiety attacks and tonic-clonic, so I thought, this is great. So he said, try these. It may make you feel a little tired. So at the time I was working for my previous employer, actually now I've got a new job, so it would be my employer before that. And take this pill just before you go to bed, you'll feel a little dozy. Tired. So I thought, okay, here I am sitting in my office, and I said, okay, it's 9 o'clock at night. I'll take this and I'll be fine by the time I get home. I took phenobarbital, which I don't know if any of you lived through the 60s, but that's what it was like. In 15 minutes, I was sitting in my office, tripping out. I picked up the phone, pressed 0, and said, help. And somebody came and got me in my office and took me home, and that's what I was going through. So I went back to this doctor the next day, and you know, I know it's a tough job being a physician, but I said to this person, I said, this is what happened, and this person said, well, you probably just have anxiety attacks. And I thought, what am I going to do? So I got hooked up with Dr. Don Weaver, who saved my life. Dr. Don gave me all these pills, and I tell you, well, he didn't quite do it like that. He prescribed medication. In Kingston, when you say gave all these pills, we have guys behind walls for doing this. And so Don Weaver took me through this trek of several years where I tried every medication. I was on 3 medications, maximum dose, 35 pills a day, and I was still having most days, in excess of 30 complex partial seizures. And yeah, I know, your jaw drops. You should have been on my side. I was just a zombie. And when the last medication had been tried, I went actually 3 weeks without a seizure. And then at the end of it, I had tonic-clonic combined with complex partial for about 2 days. So I went to Don Weaver and I said, Dr. Weaver, what am I going to do? He said, that's it. There's no other drugs. We've tried everything that could possibly happen. And he said, unless you want to consider surgery. And it's in your book. It says, you know, like he said, it's going to take 6 to 12 months to get in there. And I was pretty depressed. I don't know if any of you who've ever dealt with epilepsy, depression is a little bit of an issue, or can be. And I said, quite honestly, I was suicidal at the time. And I said, if I'm if I have to wait 6 months, I won't be here. So I got a call, I guess it was before the healthcare system was what it is now, and I got a call that afternoon saying, be in London tomorrow morning. So, thank you, London. So I went to London, and I like to refer to it as my Pink Floyd summer camp. I don't know if any of you know who Pink Floyd is, or if you do know who Pink Floyd is, just be happy to know that when I came here, I was comfortably numb. And I went in, I had the greatest, in the epilepsy unit, I had the greatest bed. I had the window bed. You know, so that's the one you want, you set your plants up, pictures, I had CBC-FM stereo, it was just my little thing. And I went through the whole, I had the electrodes outside, and then they said, we have a good idea, we know what it is, we have to do subduros. First question, is it going to hurt? And they say, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. You know, the doctor says it might hurt a little bit, you know what that means. That they're going to give you a needle through the eye. Or something. So they didn't go through the eye. Instead they ground a hole in my skull right here.